Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a video and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Today, I have a successful entrepreneur, a member of the EO from Dubai, Saahil Mehta, with me. Saahil, welcome to the show.
A pleasure to be here, Ashutosh.
Thank you. Saahil is an entrepreneur, he's an author, and he's a passionate mountaineer. He's a strategic decluttering explorer. He's a coach. And I just mentioned he's author, and a lot of you know I'm always very partial to authors. So Saahil, tell me, what would you say are three key milestones in your career or your life?
Wow. I think the three, so let's start with the first one. The first one was entering the family life.
Mm-hmm.
I had lived a bachelor life till the age of 28.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that, I enjoyed that period of my life. And a big milestone I feel was, evolving to a new life, which introduced another member entering, and then eventually a few more members entering as children as well into the family. So I would say that's certainly one milestone. I'm not sure how many people pick family, but I feel that family means a lot to me.
Absolutely.
And so it's certainly a big one. A second milestone, I would say, is publishing the book.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in my mind for a long time. And to see a thought become feelings and emotions, to become action, to become a habit of writing each day, and if turning that into a belief and a ritual to ensure that it's completed, and then seeing it in the flesh. It's I would say that that's certainly an amazing milestone. And the third milestone is, I would call it when I woke up. I feel that I was, till about 5 years ago, I felt as if I was still asleep. I hadn't woken up and really seen the true world and myself.
Okay.
I felt like I was blinded. But then I had that, as we have sometimes those moments, that aha moment.
Yeah.
And that completely changed my life till now, and will continue.
Amazing. So since you spoke so much passionately about your book, if you have your book, do you want to hold it up and show it to us?
Absolutely. Here we go.
I know every author loves to do that. So I said, let me ask you straight away. And we'll talk about this book a little later. Thank you, Saahil. So let's talk about your journey first as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, when I was growing up, and I'm much older than you, coaching meant being either spoken to by your grandfather or your father, or in the corporate world, some senior professional who took a liking to you. But now it's become organized. So tell me, why has coaching become so important in the world today?
Well, look, let's just look around us. Everyone look around and see all the amazing people that you know in different areas of their life, whether it's sports. Whoever is number one in the world, in whichever sport you look at, has a coach.
Correct.
Right? You could be the best, but you want to remain at a high performing level. And you want the coach who's going to find those weaknesses in you and tweak them and turn those weaknesses either into something which is not going to hurt you, or turn it even into a strength.
Right.
But if you're not exposed, you might just think, I'm great, I'm amazing, I know everything, I'm the best. Then there's no room for growth.
Okay.
And I find that people today really want to learn and grow. And the only way to do that is to really get different perspectives on yourself. I know people who have multiple coaches. Okay. It's not just one. They might have a life coach. They may have a health coach. They may have different types depending on what they're looking for.
Very interesting. And what would you say is the difference between coaching and mentoring?
So what I find is that the coach is going to ask you some very, very powerful questions. A mentor is someone who's maybe an expert in the field, and you go to them and they guide you, they advise you. But the coach is going to ask you the questions, going to help you dig deep, reflect, and find the true leader within yourself.
Okay. And from an entrepreneur's perspective, what benefit can they get from a coach? I mean, if you have a live example that you can share without names, please do so.
Absolutely. So I have someone who was constantly, a client of mine who was constantly struggling to get feedback, right, in their organization, because a lot of people would be afraid to give feedback, thinking, "Ooh, what if the boss doesn't like it? I may get fired or lose my chance at a promotion." Right? And so, although she wanted to improve, she was still struggling because no one would tell her anything. And so we came up with this concept, which I also learned from Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, is the concept of feed forward. And I told her, I said, listen, if people can't give you feedback, ask them how you can improve at something. Right? So how can I be a better listener? How can I be a better manager? How can I be a better leader? Okay. It's more about the future. And then you listen to them. You thank them for their time.
Okay.
You don't penalize them because they put in that effort to share with you. So, and then you take the things which you feel are going to have the most impact and you start implementing those changes.
Wonderful.
But see, if no one highlighted these things to you, then you think you're doing great. So it was converting someone from, I'm the boss, I get to tell everyone what to do, to I'm a leader. Let me learn how I can be a better leader and lead my team so we can grow even faster and reach new heights.
Fantastic. So, when we start a relationship with a coachee, how long should this association be for?
Through my experience, Ashutosh, I would say that you're looking at least having 6 to 8 sessions. Because initially it's discovery, right? You're getting to know each other a little bit more. The coach is also kind of feeling you out, like which buttons can I push? And you create your framework, right? So that both people understand how things are going to go.
Correct.
But to see results and then to be held accountable for the same, you have to give it, a certain amount of sessions. And I would say even to meet every 2 weeks, because if you're meeting once a month, the momentum is not necessarily as strong.
Okay.
And if you really want to drive results, you need to meet more frequently.
Interesting. And from the coachee perspective, how do they determine I have the right coach?
That's a great question. It's a coach is, you are opening yourself up to them. You're going to be your most vulnerable in front of them.
Correct.
Right? Because that's how you're going to transform. So it has to be someone you feel comfortable with. I use the word feel because no matter how qualified they are, no matter how many years of experience or hours of coaching they have, you have to feel that you're in the right environment and that this individual who's in front of you is going to help you to transform. So there's that element of gut feel.
Okay. So now let's move, Saahil, to your other passion or something that you're doing a lot of is decluttering. Decluttering is becoming more and more important of our minds and of our spaces. But tell me about this venture.
It all started as my own personal journey. If I may just share a very quick story.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
It was back in spring of 2016, and I'm on a trip to Ibiza with 7 other friends of mine. And as we're waiting at the gate at Barcelona airport, waiting for our flight to depart, I turn over to one of my friends and I ask him, I say, Vinny, how can we make this trip more memorable, more magical? And we both agreed to no judgment. And we shared it with the rest of the team, and all of them agreed. They said that they felt it was a great idea. And immediately, this huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I didn't have to be someone I'm not. I didn't have to impress anyone. I could just be me. And so the next 4 days, I experienced joy that was euphoric.
Okay.
And just to give you an example, one evening we were dining at a restaurant called Leo, where they have entertainment, they have all these acts while you're eating your dinner. And so we had a table right next to the stage. And during one of the acts, one of the ladies on the dance floor, who was a performer, pointed to me and said, "Come up." Now, previously, due to being concerned about judgment, I would have shrunk into my chair. I would have looked the other way. But this time I said, "You know what? No judgment. Let's go for it."
Wonderful.
And I went up, and it was just liberating.
Fantastic.
And the whole trip was like that. And as I'm coming back to Dubai, I said to myself, let me write these things down. Let me journal so that I can share with my wife. And that's when suddenly I just broke down on the plane. And I realized that I'd been wearing so many masks throughout my life, especially the mask of must be seen as Mr. Nice Guy.
Correct.
You know, and as a result of that, I had created a lot of clutter because I was shunning. You know, my definition of clutter is shunning. Clutter is nothing more than shunning confrontation. And I was shunning confrontation with my health, with people, with everything around me. And it just felt like I was carrying this dead weight. You know those old prison movies where they had the ball and chain wrapped around your leg?
Correct.
I felt I had lots of these around my leg and I was just dragging it around. And that's what I define as clutter. So how am I expected to reach new heights if I have all this weight that I'm carrying with me?
Very interesting.
So I said, no more. I need to now prioritize myself and I need to start breaking free from these balls and chains one at a time. And so as I started doing this, you know, people started to notice a change and they like come to me and go, Saahil, what's going on? You're transforming. And I said, yeah, this is what I've been doing. And I started to share. And then, you know, as you mentioned, I'm a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization. So one evening at a event, one of the fellow members, James, he walks up to me and goes, Saahil, what you've shared has transformed my life. Don't keep it to yourself. Share with others. And that's when I realized that, you know, there's a lot of people have a lot of this clutter that they need to remove from this life. And I have a lot of tools and rituals that I can continue to share and give to people. And so I started to share more. Next thing I know, I'm on a flight to Nairobi in Kenya to present to a group of very successful entrepreneurs. And that's what led me to then write my book, because I realized that, Ashutosh, I can't be everywhere, but the book can reach millions of people worldwide.
Amazing. Amazing. So, you know, when we talk about decluttering, do you talk of just decluttering the mind or also physical spaces?
So predominantly, the focus is on decluttering the mind, but even decluttering physical spaces has an impact on the mind. You know, so that is one element that we cover, but the core focus is on the self, so on the mind and on the body, and then we move on to relationships as well. And many times people think that when I say decluttering people, it means getting rid of people in your life.
Okay, yeah.
Now it might mean that to some extent, right? You may not want to have toxic people in your life, but I'm really referring to the clutter that's the unspoken, you know, things that are assumed and creating a rift between two people because there's these things that have happened and no one is talking about it. And so this is about clearing that space to create new opportunities for love, for friendship, for togetherness.
Wonderful. And you practice as a decluttering expert also?
Oh, absolutely. It's a journey. You know, I've been on it now for close to 5 years, and it's been an amazing journey so far, and it's helped me to grow and become a better person, a healthier person, stronger relationships, a clearer mind, and just living life with a lot more love and joy rather than fear.
Fabulous. So again, for our viewers and listeners, what is the process you follow? If I was to come to you and say, help me, what is the process you would follow to understand whether my mind is cluttered or not?
So it's quite simple. We'd ask you a bunch of questions in different areas of your life, right? And then we'd say, where do you feel that you're being held back?
Okay.
Right? Or if you're not so clear on that, we will ask, you know, if you could change this area of your life, how would it look like? And then once we're clear on where you would like to be, okay, well then why aren't you able to get there? What is holding you back? And that's when we start identifying. And usually what we find is we may find something at the surface level, but then as we remove the clutter one at a time, we realize there could be something that's even deeper there, right? But it's all about asking questions and being very clear on where you want to go. Because I always tell people, if you're walking around in a dense forest without a map, that's how I used to feel my life was. I was just walking around and I didn't really quite know where I was going. And now as an avid mountain climber, when you know your summit, when you know what that peak looks like, then you start taking steps one at a time to get up there.
Amazing. And do you have any example of how someone's life may have changed because of learning decluttering from you?
Absolutely. So a lot of the clients that I work with, they start their day a lot more energized. That's something that I've noticed pretty much consistently amongst all the people I work with. And if I may just dive a little deeper,
sure.
Previously I see a lot of people, they start their day, they might pick up the newspaper or they might pick up their mobile phone and and in many cases they read something they don't like. Something bad happened in the world, or maybe a client canceled the contract, or there was something, but it basically brought about some form of negativity in them. Okay, now imagine that's the first thing that you're being exposed to in the day.
Okay,
and so most people, they slump, right? They go down into this ditch, if you want to call it. And then I don't know about everyone who's listening, but a lot of these people find it difficult. It takes hours, if not the whole day, to get back to a positive state of mind.
Okay.
And so we tell them, that let's not look at these things in the morning. Let's take control over our morning.
Okay.
Right. So yes, you want to read the newspaper, you want to check your phone, wait.
Okay.
Let's go through a routine first in the morning before we come to that.
Okay.
And so we go through this process and we implement a routine that involves movement. Because you've been sleeping for many hours, you want to get the blood flowing again. It involves deep breath work to get oxygen into all your cells. It includes meditation or self-reflection. And then finally journaling as well, where you journal things you're grateful for. You journal things you're excited about. You write a positive affirmation, and then you end it with a sentence, which I love sharing, which I learned from my children, is today is going to be the best day ever.
Okay.
So when you've gone through this process of movement, of breath, of meditation, of journaling, now you're in a very good space. So now, even if you read something negative or hear something negative, you might get knocked down a little bit, but you're still on a high.
Wonderful.
And so this is a very simple technique,
okay,
but you can start taking control over your day. They say the first hour is the rudder for the day. So let's take control and not let any sort of negativity pull us down.
Well said. Very well said. So now I want to move to another discussion on your passion for climbing mountains. Tell me about why you started to do this and how do you prepare to scale these tall peaks?
So, yeah, wow. I've loved the mountains since childhood. I mean, I've been very blessed and fortunate that we used to go skiing almost every year. And so I had a passion, every time I was on the mountain, I don't know, maybe because it's so pure, the air is so fresh. There's no distractions, no clutter there, right? It's
correct.
It's nature in harmony. So anyway, I had this dream of going up to the base of Mount Everest. Now, Mount Everest, the peak is very high, but the base is equally as high. I mean, it's still 5,500 meters above sea level approximately. And so, like anything, you use the internet to prepare yourself, right? You watch videos, you make sure that you're working out the right muscles to be able to carry weight on your shoulders, and take care of your glutes and your legs to ensure that you have the strength to go up and down for days and days, for hours and hours at a time. But it's also faith, it's trusting your instinct and knowing that no matter how much you prepare, you're never going to know what it's like, because you've only heard other people's experiences.
Correct.
But your experience will always be unique to yourself. So even though now, we've climbed more mountains, we did the Kilimanjaro, tallest in Africa, we did Elbrus, the tallest in Europe, and we did our first 6,000 meter plus mountain in South America, in Peru.
Wow.
Each time, even with the training we did, you always get, surprises.
Amazing.
No matter how much you train, there will always be surprises.
Amazing.
And but it's having faith in yourself. It's believing in yourself and ensuring that you speak to people who have done it and learn from others as well.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So now let me move quickly to your book. And I want to understand, your book is about personal disruption. So on the one side, you're decluttering, on the other side, you're disrupting. Tell me about the book and your hypothesis for writing it.
So I love how you've reviewed it. So I call it personal disruption because I find that a lot of us are living in a zone of comfort, you know, and many times when we approach some form of transformation, you know, like they say, no pain, no gain. You will endure some level of pain.
Yeah.
It could be a strain in a relationship temporarily. It could be that, you know, you have to stop doing certain things that you like temporarily because they might be toxic for that moment in your life. But then usually what I find with myself and with my clients that I work with, they go, oh, but I like it here. You know, I'm not going to go further because I don't want to endure the pain. And so I call it disruption because, you know, you see freedom on the other side, but you know, it's like Michael Singer says it in The Untethered Soul. He says, we're dogs with a shock collar around our neck, and there's these invisible fences around us. And every time we get to the fence, the shock collar starts to vibrate. We feel the pain and we go back to our zone of comfort.
Correct.
Even though we see freedom on the other side. And, you know, the only way is through. The only way is through. And so you have to disrupt your beliefs, your life, in order to get that freedom and have that, you know, sense of liberation.
Okay. That's fantastic. So I'm going to now move to our last segment, which is a few questions for you personally. You know, I think I can have time for 2 questions, maybe 3. You know, Saahil, as you look back at life and, you know, you're very young, you know, so much achieved and so much more to do. From where you stand today, what does success mean to Saahil?
In today's world, I would say success is really health. You know, no matter how much you have in terms of money, fame, you know, position, if your health, and I don't mean just physical health, I mean mental well-being as well.
Correct.
If your health is you know, compromised, then it's not worth it. Imagine the stress you're putting on yourself. Imagine the stress you put on your loved ones around you. You know, I would say that having strong health, mental and physical, is the peak for reaching success.
Very interesting. So I'm going to ask you my last question now, and this is a question on failure. You know, I've often said this, that parents in South Asia don't teach children it's okay to fail, which is what manifests itself in our behavior patterns. You know, everyone has to come first, everyone has to be like head of the queue, etc., etc., etc. Yet we fail, we learn. My question to you, Saahil, is what have been some of your learnings from some of your mistakes?
So I love what you how you asked the question, what are your learnings? Because previously I used to look at, you know, these things and call them mistakes or say, why me? And now I look at it with a different perspective, that what is this teaching me? Because if I learn something from it and I can become a better version of myself, it's no longer a mistake, it's a learning.
Okay.
So I would say the biggest learning that I have had is ensuring that I listen to my gut feeling. You know, I'm an engineer by education.
Yeah.
So I'm very top heavy when it comes, you know, I think very much with the mind, and very little was followed from the heart, the soul, the gut feel, whatever you wish to call it. And I realized that I had not seen things clearly because I was only focusing on logic, but there's a lot of things that happen in life that are not logic.
Okay.
You know, and I used to fight against my gut feel and say, no, I'm right, because this is how it is. You know, if it's not black and white, it can't exist. But I realized there's this huge gray area. There's this huge area that I don't know about, that the world doesn't know about. And my gut feeling, the heart, the soul is connected to the universe, is connected to a much greater divine force. And so I started listening to my gut. And I've realized that it's always guiding me in the right direction. But when I was fighting against it, it was almost like I'm going against the tide.
Wonderful.
And although I thought I was right, I was many times making wrong decisions. So that's my
Amazing.
spiritual answer. Follow your gut, follow your soul.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Sahil, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. I've learned some amazing new things from you today. I wish you lots of success in everything that you're doing. I hope you climb many more mountains, and I hope you write many more books. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure being here with you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.